Before we begin with the video, what you're about to see are potential leaks for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, so if you don't want to get spoiled, please skip this video right after you liked, comment, and subscribed. I thought many of these potential leaks might be fake, and some might be real. We really won't know until DLC releases, so consider this your final spoiler warning. After the major success of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, and well, from Sword and Shield getting DLC, it is more than likely that we're getting DLC for this game. In fact, I'm pretty sure it got confirmed. It'll be on stream if it has been confirmed. And after researching for days, I've been able to compile all possible things we can see for the DLC. My name is Miscellaneous, and that being said, let's begin. Keep in mind that most of this is just harmless fun and harmless speculation, and I'll be putting in links in the description when applicable. And last but not least, some evidence might be shaky, but it's whatever. It's for fun. Now let's begin. Nemona's parents. In the nameless files used for labeling who is speaking in dialogue, the final entry is for an Onir with a curly apostrophe that's never showed up as far as we know in the game. Onir also appears as the second last entry in terms of name for trainer names, and is mentioned once in the story script in an overworld dialogue. Also of note is Billy, who is not mentioned anywhere else, and he's who we'll never see in person or talk in game in general, which is pretty ominous. If you notice, it's Billy and Nair, so it's a reference on billionaire, and we do know that Nemona's parents are pretty rich, so what is basically being hinted at that there's a chance that we might actually get to see them in the DLC pack, and either we might battle them, and since they're, billionaires, they might have Pokemon like Golden Gingo or something similar like that, or Meowth or like Persians, or any Pokemon have Payday. So maybe the DLC might be revolved around them, or in the DLC we get to like battle them, and they might be super powerful because they're really rich and they're never there, and they would never just came up in like the main game. Like when we go to like their parents' house, Nemona's parents' house, they're not there. In fact, the mate says they're not there. So we might see them in the DLC. More proof of this is Director Clavell. He's there waiting for Nemona's parents. So when we go there, there's a huge chance that either they left before the trainer, can come in, or he's waiting for their parents to come in. And when they come in for DLC, Dr. Clavell, or Director Clavell, is going to be talking to Nemona's parents. In the code, there's actually even some text, which I'm going to put on screen. The text is used for overall pop-ups, and these triangles are significant for people you can press A to talk to, and their text is sorted mostly sequential. Thought, as you might expect, Onir's text is skipped. The Cavity's Ace Tournament dialogue is in sub 012, and the NPCs who pick up your coins is sub 013, or whatever that means. Cover the Ruinous Legendaries, and 18 covers the dialogue from the Legendary rematches. 19 is empty, 20 to 23 have place order lines, and then 24 picks back up with the Traveling Pokemon Center's NPCs. Since the second line mentions Onir by name, it seems like someone else is saying that to Onir, and that they are doing the anime rich girl ooh-hoo-hoo laugh, if you know what I mean. Also, Onir seems like a female name in other languages. For example, in Italian it's Abby, and stuff like that, so it's assumed that Onir is the wife, and Billy is the husband, or Billy is Nemona's father, and Onir is Nemona's daughter. Also, in a trainer data sheet, we can see that they own a Cantonian Meowth with Payday, and it's in a luxury ball. And although it doesn't have much, its moveset is Payday and Bites, boosted by a Technician. Though it's a very fade out, she has 10 in each IV and 5 in each EV, or the other way around. And yeah, that's basically most part of it. So yeah, we're most likely probably seeing Nemona's parents in DLC. Like I said, I'll put this link in the description. Director Clavell being evil. At the moment, Director Clavell is our school director. However, many Pokemon fans hasn't hesitated to notice that he seems a bit sketchy. Now first off, his name, Director Clavell. Clavell is based off of flower, and so is Lucamine from Sun and Moon, Chairman Rose. And there's been a trend from the last 2 games at least, that people with flower names end up being the surprise villain. The same happened with Lucamine, the same happened with Chairman Rose, and now it might just happen with Director Clavell. He seems like an alright sketchy guy, whether it's from dressing up as a kid to help in like defeating Team Star, or just always being there. In fact, the leaked footage or the leaked dialogue of Nemona's appearance actually might be linked to Director Clavell's evil schemes. There's a lot of things pointing out to that. Plus, again, he's a man of power in a school since he's a school director. So, from like past like things that happened in the Pokemon series, people who are in power are usually the people who end up being bad guys at the end of the day. In short, he's sketchy. He seemingly looks like he's doing a positive organization. He's sending us on special project treasure hunts, probably because he himself is looking for something and he wants to play to find it for him. Based off what we've seen in literally every single Pokemon game since Sun and Moon, he has to be the villain. Atlantis connections. When developers of Pokemon make a new game, they usually give off, like for Pokemon or for like land masses or stuff like that, they give them code names. For Paldea, the code name was Atlantis. And a lot of people have noticed that the Great Area Zero has a lot of connections that are related to Atlantis too. In fact, we also found in a data mine 2 rocks that can potentially look like it's related to Atlantis. Although they have no text related to it, one looks like it's from the past and another looks like it's from the future. So we can definitely see that sometime in the future, when DLC comes out, that we'll have storylines based off Atlantis, and you'll have to collect this rock that will hopefully get us a legendary Pokemon, and you have to give that legendary Pokemon this rock so it can evolve, or it's like an held item that they can have, or something like that similar. That's what I believe at the moment, but then again, this is just speculation at the moment. Update day. So we all know that Pokemon Day is going to be happening really soon in February. So a lot of people have theorized that the next update, or when you'll get the DLC, is on Pokemon Day, or somewhere near that. And during Pokemon Day, we'll get an update. In fact, a lot of other games, like for example Sword and Shield, Pokemon Unite, actually have planned maintenance for Pokemon Day. A lot of Pokemon related games just have this in general. So we can already know for a fact that during Pokemon Day, we're going to be getting a lot of announcements. And of course, DLC. Oranguru Paradox Pokemon. In the game, there are some old research papers about old Pokemon drawings, and one of them shows an ape. Now, a lot of things have actually been pointing towards evidence that in the future we might get a Paradox ape. So either a Paradox Slacking or a Paradox Oranguru. Specifically, more likely a Paradox Oranguru, because you know how Paradox Pokemon that are version exclusive depending on the game. So it's most likely that Paradox Oranguru is going to be the one, and it's going to be like a past form, and then in Violet we'll get Paradox Pissimian or something like that. Although it is completely possible that we get Paradox Slacking or whatever. It is pretty cool, not gonna lie, but we'll see in the future. Here's some of the pictures that I'm talking about, by the way. It's on screen right now. At this point though, anything's possible, but I really hope this comes true because Paradox Slacking or Paradox Oranguru does sound kind of cool, not gonna lie. Just look at the design. It just oozes something from the past. Also look at Oranguru's Pokedex entries. Exactly. Also, another thing to kind of want to point out is a lot of Paradox Pokemon are based off Godzilla characters. And for example, we can see this in Tyranisaur's Paradox Pokemon and Iron Moss Paradox Pokemon. They're both actually based off Godzilla characters. However, getting a King Kong based one would be pretty cool, and it will go with the theme. So that's like another point going toward having a monkey or an ape Paradox Pokemon. Mega Evolutions. Now, I do have to be honest with you, the chance of getting Mega Evolutions, it's kind of mixed for me, but there's also a lot of things that we actually might have them in the game. First off, they have referenced Mega Evolution in the games. For example, in Salamance's Pokedex entries, specifically the Paradox form of it. In fact, if you've noticed, Paradox Salamence kind of looks like Mega Salamence, and they even directly reference this Also, it is canonically true that Paldea is next to Kalos, and there's a lot of things going toward Kalos being the next DLC location. So if this is true, and I'll get more into details Kalos in a bit, but if this is true, then it wouldn't be a surprise that we can get new Mega Forms or Mega Evolution backs. Heck, that'll be really cool. Although there is some things that are kind of going against Mega Evolutions, like for example, we already have Terrelastalization, and it would be kind of overpowered if you have a Charizard that you Mega Evolve with Drop Down, and then you Mega Evolve it, and then you give it a Fire Terra type and Terrastallize it. That would be a bit overpowered, and that would put the competitive scene in shambles. But I do feel like they'll probably limit this by if a Pokemon has a Mega Stone, then you can't Terrastallize it, or something like that to make it, more balanced. Magenta Mirage DLC. Hello everyone, so before we continue with the video, I just want to give you an update. So when I was researching this, this 4chan and another one which we'll see in the future for another leak, those two 4chan things posts were still up online. But however, as I was editing this video, that this is of course being the 1st of February, those links are no longer on 4chan, so they're deleted. However, YouTuber HDVee, which by the way, go subscribe to him, because a lot of leaks that I'm able to find, I found help with his videos. He does a lot of shining hunting videos and Pokemon news leak and all that videos, so please go subscribe to him. Without him, this video I would be making right now would be kind of hard to make. But he's done a video on this leak and another one which I'll say in the future. It's another 4chan link. And I'll be using footage or pictures from his video. But yeah, just want to give you a quick heads up. And while we're at it, I just want to say special thanks to, like I said, HDVee, Soul Silver Art on Twitter, Light on Twitter, and among other people, which, like I said, I'll put in the description of this video where I got my sources. Special thanks to all of them. And if you really like Pokemon leaks, stuff like that, not only subscribe to me, of course, but go comment, subscribe to all of their sources too. Because without them, this video would have been significantly harder to make. Thank you. So in an anonymous 4chan leak, and I know 4chan isn't that reliable, but there's a lot of things going on for this DLC, and it is pretty detailed. So here's the post. I'm gonna put a picture on the screen, but here's what it says. DLC is called Magenta Mirage. Only one DLC this time, but it's gonna be bigger than both Sword and Shields. Now personally, I don't think this is true, because I mean, it's Nintendo we're talking about. Nowadays they want to make more money, so why make one big DLC and just get paid once when they can just make two smaller DLCs and get paid twice? Comes out November of this year. This is kind of true because a lot of Pokemon stuff usually comes out in November. It's kind of a tradition. Has the code name for the third legendary, which of course I'll get to later. I do believe we're gonna get a third legendary at one point. It's kind of come on, we always get more legendaries in these type of games recently. It lives in a second crater, which is what's the top right area of the map is, which I'm gonna put up is right here. Separated by two tribes, one with ancient looking tribes and the other one is futuristic. Covered in terra crystals, with some Pokemon and people having been stuck in them for hundreds of years. The tribes lives in fear as they cannot escape the crater. Or the crater, sorry. Magenta Mirage has the ability to counter both Crydon's and Miraidon's abilities, which is interesting. I don't know how this will work. Summons Psychic Terrain and Rain. Its real name is Nemona, or whatever, I don't know how to pronounce that. And it's a water dragon type, which is an interesting type of typing, not gonna lie. Apparently this new Pokemon is able to realize people's ambition and mentalize them to keep people believing in it, and uses energy of belief to stay alive, constantly feeding on people's dreams, eventually driving them insane. Chief was a science fiction fanatic and came into contact with it, eventually creating the Paradox Pokemon we now see at the moment. Inspired Sada and Tora to build the time machine which was powered by Terra Crystals. And the pair Pokedex did come from the past and future, but one that was changed by Heath's desire to see Pokemon from another time. Terra Crystal Shards, whatever you want to call them, are part of Mayama that materialize when every ambition that comes true. And the plot is to stop a mind control Heath from using the legendary Pokemon before it consumes the region in Terra Crystals. Along with that, we got a few featured things. New Paradox Pokemon and new Pokemon, of course, which, no shit. Paradox Suicune, a Storming Waters Water Ghost. Now, in a bit, I have some contradictions with that. Oh, the name's Iron Storming Waters. Interesting. Paradox Virizion, which is called Iron Blade, which is a Grass and Psychic. Paradox Delphox, which is called Wicked Mage, which is a Fire and Fairy. This is an interesting type because I'm pretty sure Delphox itself is already a Fairy Fire type, so nothing has really changed. Paradox Chestnut, Iron Shelter, Grass Seal. Paradox Greninja, Rogue Warrior, Fighting Dark. Also, so I'm pretty sure it's already a Fighting... No, actually, never mind, it's a Water Dark. I've actually seen concepts of these, and also other concepts of Paradox Pokemon, which I'll put up after this. Paradox Quaquatrol, Thunderstorm, Electric Water. Interesting that we actually haven't seen any Paradox Pokemon from Gen 9. And Paradox Gligamore, which is an Iron Flower, which is a Poison Steel. Mayamayu, which we already explained. I'm probably like saying it wrong. Reflect Chime, which is a Chimecho evolution, Psychic Steel. It would be kind of fun to get a Chimecho evolution because, I mean, this Pokemon really needs an evolution. And a Galvantula evolution, Tyranippura, which is a Bug Electric. Along with that, more customizable options, wild parts that allow you to change EVs, Terra types, and levels of your Pokemon for LP, and dual type Terra Shades. Only some Pokemon can use them, for example starters, legendaries, and some Gen 9 Pokemon, etc. etc. These crystals have set types, and you cannot choose what type you want. So yeah, this is what this leak is basically talking about. And there are a few like inconsistencies, like for example with Paradox Quaquatrol, with Thunderstorms being a bit too much characters, because I'm pretty sure like the Pokemon like company has a rule where like Pokemon names have to be under 12 characters or less. So Thunderstorm kind of breaks that rule. And along with Paradox Suicune, there's actually contradictory leaks saying that Suicune might be a different type in general, like a Water Psychic. But we'll get there when we get there. Along with that, I mean, this all seems pretty cool and accurate. I mean, I do expect Paradox Chestnut, like the Paradox like Kalos like starters, along with other starters too. But yeah, what do y'all think about this? Put it in the comments. Eternal Floette possible DLC. Another Kalos based series, but y'all remember AZ? So first off, this guy is like, I think like 6 meters tall or something like. This guy is like 10 feet tall. I don't know. He is pretty tall, and he's humongous. But it is potentially, a lot of people have been theorizing that maybe the AZ might have created Area Zero. So we all know about like the backstory of like Kalos, where there was a great war, and he made a huge cannon, and the cannon he shot it up to like basically wipe out everyone or something like that. And he had a Floette, a really special Floette, and that Floette left AZ after he basically used a cannon and wiped out everyone, and for that he is now immortal. However, there's a few theories that maybe AZ used the Eternal Mystica, or the herb. I can't say the name right, I'm sorry, but he probably used the herb, which explains why he is huge. And since, again, Paldea and Kalos are together, there's a chance that maybe his story will get fleshed out even more, and that we might finally get Eternal Floette. Now, I'm not sure if it was Sun and Moon or X and Y, I'll put it on screen which was which, but in the code, there was code for Eternal Floette, and I'm pretty sure she had a signature move of her own. And as you can see, it's just a Floette who can evolve, but has a really interesting flower. And it's also said to be immortal too. And yeah, it was supposed to be like DLC to be given out in an event, but this event never happened. So maybe we might get this event where we get Eternal Floette in a DLC. Paradox, Suicune, and Virizion. So we already went this with like the last 2 weeks in the Magenta Miracle or whatever it was called. But in the when we data mined Scarlet and Violet, there was a lot of evidence of Paradox, Suicune, and Virizion. Although the rest of the Paradox Pokemon, I've said it before, there hasn't been like any like real evidence for. Suicune and Virizion have definitely a lot of evidence pointing toward it. And I'm pretty sure they might be my mascot of the DLC. Now, apparently for Virizion, the name is supposed to be Iron Leaf, which kind of sucks. I mean, then again, a lot of the Paradox Pokemon names aren't the best. But we haven't seen Suicune's name yet. However, they're going to have 2 new moves. Hydro Steam, which leads me to believe that this is basically just Hydro Pump, but having a chance to like burn. So basically, Hydro Pump and like Scald combined together. And this makes me think that Paradox Suicune might be a Water-Fire type. And then Virizion will have a Psyblade, which are 2 completely new moves that, although aren't exactly like gonna be exclusive to them, and apparently like there's gonna be TMs available for these moves for select few Pokemon, but still, this makes me lead to believe that Virizion is gonna be a Grass Psychic type, while Suicune a Water-Fire. Now, how do we know about Hydro Steam and Psyblade? Well, funny story, in a San Diego regional for like competitive Pokemon, they had a team builder, and they accidentally left in Hydro Steam and Psyblade. So you can actually, like when you're building your team, unironically have these 2 moves. And they're just there. So yeah, Pokemon Company kind of leaked their own surprise, which is kind of funny. I mean, it happens in a Smash World, it happens in Pokemon too. It's really funny. But yeah. Out of all the leaks, Suicune and Virizion are probably the most likely gonna come true. And like, I am willing to bet money that these 2 are 100% real and are coming to the game. There's so much evidence confirming it. From Pokemon leaking himself to a bunch of code and from the data mine. Along with that, in one of the books in the game, we can see like pictures of a dog that looks like Suicune, so that's even more evidence. Paradox Kalos starters. Now, I already talked about this, but here's some fan art of it, which I think is pretty cool. We're probably most likely getting Kalos starters, and I'm pretty sure, willing to also bet money that the DLC is going to be Kalos themed, but we'll see. Ash Greninja returning. So it has been confirmed that Ash Greninja will be returning, and this has been confirmed by, of course, Pokemon Home having a code. But also another thing that's kind of like going toward this idea is that if you go to Nemona's house, there's a painting of a Greninja, and it looks strikingly like Ash Greninja. Shiinotic. Funny story about Pokemon Home too is that Shiinotic is considered a mythical when it comes to Alolaside and not Marshadow. This possibly is a mistake due to both their names being very similar sounding in Japanese, but this does confirm that both Marshadow and Shiinotic will be coming to Pokemon Scarlet and Violet. Also, another thing is that they changed the subcategory of Ultra Beasts and they're no longer considered a sub-legendary. We know this because, well, in the code, but this leads to believe that it's possible that maybe the Ultra Beasts might come in like portals that you can like raid in or something like that. So, and it might be in like the same caliber as like Paradox Pokemon. Also, it has been confirmed that Beast Balls are in the game. They're literally already in the game. And since Ultra Beasts are kind of common in different dimensions, I feel like they kind of been demoted to like the same level as Paradox Pokemon, if you know what I mean. And back to the theme of Pokemon Company leaking their old Pokemon, Vanillix, Garbodor, Dracovish, Illuminese, Aurorus, and Kabutops have both been accidentally revealed in the same San Diego regional for VGC. And since Dracovish is coming back, it's safe to say that his other 3 forms, like Arctovish and all that, are also coming back. And same for Illuminase. If Illuminase is in the game, we're gonna get Volbeat, of course. But this also leads to the thing about next thing we're gonna talk about. Fossil Pokemon. So all fossil Pokemon have actually been scrapped But there's a big argument of them coming back. First off, this game is about the past and the future, so it will just make sense to like, reintroduce the fossil Pokemon, and just make them already revived. Because the game is only about the past and the future, and who knows, maybe they might make fossil Pokemon like new ones, but from the future. I don't know exactly how that would work, but I still find it really cool. Like, they're not Paradox Pokemon, but they're from the future, like their own different Pokemon for the future. Carbink. Another thing that's supporting the Kalos theory is that Carbink is the only non-legendary mythical special starting Pokemon or Pokemon Legends Arceus Pokemon in the game that aren't in the game yet that have code for it. So of course, more proof of Kalos DLC in the future. Hydro Steam and Psychic Blade. I think I already went over this, but yeah, it's in the notes, self-explanatory, more proof of Suicune and Virizion being Paradox Pokemon in the future. Geeta being the villain. Just look at Geeta. She has the design of a villain. Also, she is a pretty underwhelming elite champion, and she just doesn't stand out. So this theory going around that maybe she used Aura Mystica on her Pokemon so that she can beat other trainers. And it's also just in general in Paldea, champion level, unless you're Larry, they're not that strong. And apparently the Elite Four and Gym Leaders, they beat each other on a daily, so there isn't really a real champion at the moment. Free update. Another 4chan leak, but I'm still gonna explain it because it might be true. And it has some points going for it, but at the same time, some things against it. Patch 1.2 on Pokemon Day brings free updates with 3 new Pokemon. Although Kalos is not the DLC, Karina returns to open a battle facility. So something like the Battle Frontier or something like that. Paradox Kamao is a dragon bug, which is Cloud Worm. Paradox Metagross, Steel Electric, Iron Spider. Personally, I don't think this will happen because, Metagross already looks futuristic in general. Paradox Suicune, Water Dragon, Raging Waters, and Paradox Virizion, Psychic Grass, Iron Needle. I'm pretty sure Iron Blade was already confirmed for Virizion, when it came to Datamine. And the fact that Suicune isn't Water Fire, I don't think so. Gumi Hydra is a Fire Dark, which is Gumi. And Electric Dragon, Iron Typhoon, which is going to be Paradox Heliolisk, which I don't know. It doesn't seem I don't know. Some of these seem shaky, but at the same time I can see it happening. Pitaportal, the Crystal Turtle Pokemon, stops this massive creature before it invades Paldea, so it's kind of giving off Rayquaza vibes. And this turtle Pokemon is an ancient weapon from a lost civilization with the power to turn anything into reality. Jack has been fascinated by Professor Toro's and Sada's research, which is why he's reactivating a time machine with the new Asian Pokemon. And they travel to a new school with new teachers and new classes to give even greater bonuses, such as recipes to make a shiny sandwich, which will most likely increase shiny odds. And this will be announced soon, throughout the summer of 2023 to 2024, where there will be content updates for Pokemon Scarlet and Violet, with the first wave coming to air in May 2023. And along with that, Elite Four mode, Champion mode, Quest book, Sauce Book Grand P Season Pass content, The Legend of Giants Path, and Paldean Windlands will also be added. And honestly, if all this is free, I don't think this is gonna happen. This is way too much. And I'm pretty sure, I don't know, some things are giving off red flags, like the Paradox Suicune and Virizion, and the Paradox Howdoon. Because I know for a fact Paradox Suicune is going to be a Water Fire. And Iron Needles, I'm pretty sure it was in the code it said Iron Blade. So yeah. Is this real? Probably not, but we don't know. Who knows? It might be real. However, one point they did bring up was a third academy. And that is a good segue to my next point. Academy Manzana. So there's a lot of hints of the third being a third school. That being specifically based on apples. One school is based off oranges, others on grapes, and then we got apples. Why? Well, there's a ton of clues. First off, Rika mentioned Apple Academy when she asked you what school do you go to, and she also happens to have a Flapple on her team too. Along with that, there's actually a lot of Apple apparel in Director Clavell's office if you look around. So yeah, there's like some hinted at. Turtle Legendary. There's art around the game that somewhat mentions this, but it isn't really too vague. But I do feel like we're gonna get like a third Legendary, and it's gonna be turtle based. Bulbasaur and Glossifleur confirmed. Trainer battle codes have been in the data mine that shows trainer battles with a trainer that has both a Bulbasaur and a Glossifleur. And as we both know, these two Pokemon aren't in the game yet. So in the DLC, we can see these two characters coming in. And since Bulbasaur is coming in and Charizard's already in the game, we can also see Squirtle coming in too, without a doubt. Trademark Pokemon name. The name on screen, which I'm not going to pronounce, has been trademarked by the Pokemon Company, so we can definitely see a future Pokemon, whether it be the Legendary, or some other Pokemon, or heck, even a Gen 10 Pokemon, being our future Pokemon. Granaceous Flower. I know I butchered that, but this flower is basically linked to Shaman, so, and through the data mine we saw this flower along with other stuff, so we can definitely see a Shaman event coming through in the future. Arven's Room connection. Arven Room has a map that hints at Southern Kalos, and it's possible that Zygarde could possibly be in the next DLC. Heath potential villain. Now I know I've been seeing a lot of people being villains, whether it's Director Clavell or Greta, but another theory states that Heath might actually be the villain of the DLC. Although he might be dead, he also might be alive due to the Area Zero shenanigans, you know, weird stuff with that past and present, so he might be still alive. Cut Magikarp form. It has been confirmed in the data mine that there was some sort of Magikarp type Wiglet form, and by that I mean like not as like a whole like Paldean type of Pokemon, but more of like something like with Wiglet, where they're completely different Pokemon, but you know. And like Magikarp apparently in Gyarados is supposed to have a form, and this is proven by text supporting that. However, there is no like visual component to it. So yeah, we don't see it, but they might come in like DLC. Pokéhex features. Apparently in the DLC there's data mines saying that they're gonna add a program similar to Pokéhex, which is basically a program that helps us customize Pokemon for competitive use. It isn't official, but apparently they're gonna add something similar to that in the DLC, where you know we can like competitively breed Pokemon for competitive play more. Island DLC. Hikers NPCs have referenced this and have been used to reference like other DLCs in the past. For example, Hikers have been referencing the Sword and Shield both DLCs. So who's there to say that, you know, they might be referencing it again. Pokemon Teal. Another 4chan leak that seems kind of fake but has some things going for it. So in Pokemon Teal, it's confirmed that OG Ash Hat and a classic Gengar vs Nidorino Rotom phone. 1000 Celebration, which if I'm reading correctly, it basically means all Pokemon are able to be transferred into Scarlet and Violet, but they're on Pokédex, which already sounds outlandish. Improved optimization, for example, frame rates and collision, camera fixes, Elite Four rematches, Great Creator Gang Summer Break, Predicts Giveaway, which is a convergent fairy type of Clefairy and a mix of Gen 1's like PG's pixel art, which no, I don't think this is happening. This is already giving out fake. Also, back to the 1000 Celebration, I mean, what's the point of the DLC if this is going to be a free upgrade? Like, the main point of the DLC is, oh, we're going to get a bunch of more new returning Pokemon. So yeah, but back to the thread. Suicune, Defog, Dive, Waterfall, Rock Smash, and Cut. Whiskerida and Marida, and so basically new ride features to them, which is kind of cool, I'm not gonna lie. Coco Coastal Resort, owned by Monona's parent, with a Battle Frontier along with Luminos or whatever it's called, boutiques from X and Y. Encrypted Corrida Miradon found footage, and Bigfoot hunting. Along with that, they have like new assets of Nemona and like new costumes. And this could be potentially fake, but I don't know, man. This leak is kind of iffy. I'm not gonna lie. So as I was recording this video, we got one last 4chan leak, and this was recent. So in this one, they claim that we're getting 4 new Paradox Pokemon. Paradox Dolomize and Paradox Volcavite, Vikavolt being in the past and Dolomize being in the future, which seems reasonable, especially for Vikavolt having a past form. But then the next 2 is interesting. Paradox Carbink being a past form inspired by Mega Diancie, and Paradox Charizard, a future form. Now I have seen like past form of Paradox Pokemon out in the wild, and I'm, like I said, I already showed in the video. But the fact that we're gonna have a Paradox Charizard and it's gonna be a Virgin exclusive, I don't think they're gonna do that, especially with how popular Charizard is. Next up, they start with like they say the story of the DLC. The story of the first DLC is after Sorantara AI go to the future and past, and they managed to awaken a 3rd legendary called Salamortis. Interesting name, not gonna lie, but I don't know. I don't like it. The player has to go in the broken blue door at the gate of Area 0 to plunge in the depths of Area 0 to face off Salamortis, and new Paradox Pokemon can also be encountered there. Like I said, the 4 Paradox Pokemon. Second DLC takes place in a blocked off area in the northeast part of the map, in a shared area between Paldea and Carlos. It's not close like we've seen it in X and Y, but we can see Prism Tower in the distance. Story involves AZ and will finally get AZ's Floette. Eevee will get a surprising evolution that you won't expect. And there will be a way to edit your Pokemon, and the grind for Terra Shards and money will not be an issue anymore. A battle facility will be present, and rewards are Herba Mystica and ability patches. Pokemon I know that are returning are Pyukumuku, Politoed, and for that point, Poliwrath, Ludicolo, Squirtle, Bulbasaur, Watchdog, and Pinsir. So yeah, believable leak, except for the part where they said Paradox Charizard and that being a Virgin exclusive. Like, come on, that's not gonna happen, let's be honest. Like, Charizard is so popular at this point that like, limiting it like that is just not going to work out. Okay, last 4chan leak, and then we're done with the video. So I did not expect this video to be over like 30 minutes at all. I thought this would be a quick 10-minute video, but here we are. Also, apologies for like not having more clearer screenshots of 4chan posts, because I mean, I don't know, like I did the video on them and then they ended up getting deleted right away, so yeah. So I had to get screenshots from like other creators and stuff like that. Anyway, so this time I actually screenshotted the 4chan post before it gets deleted. So here it is. Genjitsuno, the Christine Shell Pokemon. Ability to bring fantasies to reality, like the Veldette. I don't know what that is. Summer break, so no more uniforms. Still allowed to wear in a full body selection though. Human Storms, Water Fire, which is Suicune, and Iron Blade, Psychic Grass. I don't like the name Human Storm, but Iron Blade does kind of sound believable. Human Storm ability summons rain, which is basically like drizzle, and Iron Blade ability to summon grassy terrain, which is interesting. Next up, Giant Gem, Rock Ghost, Sableye. Mega Sableye, but more toothy and rigid. Probably from the past. Feral Stripes, which is a ferret. Dark Psychic, Caveman Ferret, and becomes more snake-like. Gaseous New, Poison Dark, Sandalit, Masculine Sandalit, and can pass as an Evo, technically. These are all past forms. For future forms, we got Iron Jet, which is Flying Steel, Dustox, looks like a mini combat plane. Iron Faucet, which is Water Ground, which is the Heatmore, and they just turned it into a water faucet, which is kind of funny. And Iron Cloud, Very Electric Altaria, which is best Mega Altaria, but metallic and puffs of various flavors of cotton candy. And yeah, that's it for this 4chan leak. And ladies and gentlemen, that's all the leaks I could find. And well, I hope you enjoyed. it was kind of fun looking through all these leaks, some of them being somewhat plausible and other ones being really stupid, like Pokemon. I'm pretty sure that's fake. Like, there's no way that's happening. Like the moment he said free and 1,000, like all Pokemon coming back, that's when I'm like, no, it ain't happening. But I do stand my case. I really do think like Paradox Virizion and Paradox Suicune are coming back, with Suicune being water, fire, and him having Hydro Steam, and Virizion having Psycho Blade and her being grass and psychic. I do believe that will be a thing and that will happen. But with that being said, don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and be safe because those streets aren't safe. Good night.